forum either. So I go now to identification of urgent business. Councillor Piddington.
Yeah, look, this is on Bede's advice to bring it early. I would like to move that the report on the Theatre Royal and the Heritage Hub be brought out of public excluded. Do you want my reasons now, Nigel?
Yeah, no, go for it. Thanks.
I just think it's a really huge community decision. We said we'd take them on the journey. Here's our first opportunity to do that. If a report comes out afterwards, it's just an abridged version. They don't get the full story and all the options. So that's my reasoning for transparency and to take people on the journey with us.
Kia ora. Thanks, Councillor Piddington. We'll come back to that in a moment. Any other matters of urgent business? Councillor Booth.
Perhaps the water, the contamination issue.
So, yeah, so in regard to manganese, so is it mine in nature?
Mine in nature.
Mine in nature, yeah. Can't have that as mine in nature. Oh, yeah, sorry. Sure can. Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll bring that as mine in nature.
And I'll declare a conflict of interest right from the outset in regard to that and step away from that mine in nature. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. We'll come to conflicts shortly, but appreciate that. Councillor Burt. Alrighty. Okay, so we'll address, thank you, we'll address the having the of the theatre project in public or public excluded. So I'd like to invite Michael to come and talk to us just in regard to legal opinion on the pros and cons. And is there a microphone for Michael? No. Thanks very much. Is it on? It's it.
Kia ora koutou, good afternoon everybody. Michael Garbet's my name. I'm a partner at Anderson Lloyd at Legal Advisors. I assisted the staff prepare the report on that item and did recommend that it be held in the public excluded part of the meeting. And the substance for the reasons for that is really that the information included in the paper includes the quantity surveyor's estimates of some of the costs in comparison to that of the contractor. It identifies some of the elements of contractual risk for council with the project, and those were seen certainly by me as important aspects in the update to you as elected members of the information staff have received, and they want to convey that to you and to talk with you about the implications of that for the project and some of the options on the table that they recommend that you have. So for that reason, I recommended that it's probably in council's best interest to have that matter public excluded to preserve council's ability to negotiate with contractors without all the information from the quantity surveyor being available to that contractor, and some of the contractual risks discussed and be made available to the public and to the contractor, who will be the other party to those negotiations. So it's for that reason that I recommended in council's best interest to exclude the public from that item. But the decision is obviously for you, but that was the reason. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Is there any questions for Michael? Yeah, Councillor Piddington.
As we go down the path, Michael, we're obviously, this gets a bit awkward, doesn't it? We're going to discuss with the ratepayers certain options, and for them to be fully briefed, we'd have to attach costs. So are you suggesting we can't do that either?
No, what I'm suggesting is that you discuss the item public excluded. Once you debate that and reach a conclusion, whatever that might be, you're absolutely free to decide what you release to the public, including press releases or anything of that nature. But you would agree that, in my recommendation, rather than just have the discussion in public from the start. Thank you.
Councillor Burt, thank you.
Look, we take information from people all the time that look after our best interest. We're still in a phase whereby we want people accountable for what they do and say around the cost and in a tender process, and in the spirit of fiscal responsibility in terms of maintaining the ability to have that negotiation footing with people. There is such a thing as commercial sensitivity, and in this case, when you read the report, which we all have, and given the gravity of what we've just heard, I believe that should be in the best interest of us and the fiscal responsibility of us making the right decisions to get to a position that might or might not cost us a significant amount of money extra if we put that into the public realm. So I believe that it should actually still be in public excluded.
Councillor Booth.
Well, look, I'd be happy to second the motion, even with the advice I've had. It's long over.
I don't actually have a motion, so.
Oh, sorry, okay.
That's right. But
Okay,
point noted.
we should have brought the public along for this journey long before now. And so, where we're at now, I think they should be part of this debate. So, that's my thoughts.
Okay, so my question, is there any possible way to do a hybrid on this in regard to what could be in public excluded and what discussion in the interests of the public can be held in public? And I know it's quite a hard one without rewriting a paper for the meeting today. Has anyone thoughts on that? And otherwise, to Michael's point,
I can
yeah.
offer a suggestion.
Yeah.
It's really the information in the quantity surveyor's report around risks and costs that's probably particularly sensitive to council's commercial position. If you were to segment the meeting, I would suggest that part be considered with the public excluded and remain on the public excluded part of the agenda. Although aspects of that are summarised in the report, obviously, so it becomes difficult to sort of segment it cleanly.
Yeah, no. Okay, point noted. Thank you, Michael. So, any other further discussion before someone moves moves the motion either way? Councillor Lyon.
Thank you, Worship. Look, I favour us going into public excluded for the following reasons: that we've all read the report and we all understand some of the challenges that we all are going to be faced with in the next hour or so. And I think that a robust and full debate amongst staff and council is important, so that we go out to the community with the right and correct information. And I'm fearful that, well, I'm not saying in any way, any shape or form it could occur. There's an element of ability to grandstand in public, and maybe we could have a deep and depth and meaningful discussion amongst ourselves with the staff involved and the contractors and those sorts of people as well, so that we do come out with something meaningful with numbers that the public will understand. And that's, to me, that's the only way we can do it, is to come out with an agreed approach forward that will be couched in a way that is understandable and certainly open to debate and comment by the public. So I will be voting against the resolution on those grounds.
Thank you, Councillor Lyon. I'll go to Councillor Booth, and you've had an opportunity to speak, and then we'll go to Councillor Bird, and then if someone can move a recommendation either way, that would be helpful. So, Councillor Booth.
The assumptions that were put out there during the public consultation vary considerably from where we're at now. So that's the reason that I think it needs to be. We need to bring the public along for the ride as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we probably still need a motion that can protect our interests. Yeah. Councillor Burt.
I think Councillor Booth just answered his own question. We're not going to debate whether or not they should have been brought along on the ride earlier or not. It was done, and you guys went along with that to a degree. And so at the end of the day, we're voted on here to protect the interests also of the public in terms of the fiscal responsibility we have to make sure that we do what we do well and at the best cost and the best business proposal to get the best outcome. And today gives us the opportunity, because you've just answered your own questions, the relativity between what was before and now is significant. We need to know and understand that so that we can go back and actually understand what it means and communicate it effectively to the public, and also protect the commercial sensitivity of the potential for other people to be involved. So I think in that situation, we need to keep it where it is. And we do this for that reason.
Thank you, Councillor Burt. Councillor Pinney, I'll let you speak to it, but just on suggestion from the Chief Executive, will recommend perhaps a motion if you are going to move one, but I'll let you speak perhaps to the point.
I was just going to say, I'm going to move my recommendation that it's brought out of public excluded because of the reasons Peter's just said. We could turn this decision on its head, and unless we do that in public, no one knows why, how, and who voted for what. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, you can choose to release all that information, that's fine. I mean, the risk the risk here is a financial risk. It's around potentially adding millions of dollars worth of cost to the ratepayers. So that let's be clear, that's the risk. But I'm happy to take the motion, and I just would like, if you're comfortable with that, for the B to wrap some words around it so we just mitigate any risk. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Michael, you might like to just test it as well. But the motion being that item 11.1 on the council agenda being the Theatre Royal and Heritage Facility preliminary design presentation be removed from public excluded and heard in public. That being the motion, you would look for a mover and a seconder, and it would be put to the vote, Your Worship.
happy to move.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Booth. So would anyone else like to talk for or against before we put the motion? Councillor Lyon.
Well, I have a question. If this motion is successful, does that mean that the meeting can't proceed on the basis that talks would have to be had with parties that are involved as to whether they were felt able to take part in the discussion at all? I just asked that question on the basis that it was going to be public excluded and people were coming to talk or not. Now, if it was to come out into the public, would those people be comfortable to come and talk in public? I think it's a reasonable question, and I think this is just a stalling tactic just to slow things down. I think people who are committed to come and talk should be able to, on the basis that they were invited, and not at the last minute change the rules. So I think it's a fair question to be. That's my long-winded question. Should there be a discussion with contributors?
No, and a point well made, and I think what we would look to do if it were successful to come out of public, and that we would talk to the parties involved and seek their level of comfort, because some are obviously commercial entities, and I think that's respectful of their position. We need to be respectful of their position. So we have a mover and a seconder. I'm going to put the motion now. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against, please raise your hands. Okay, motion is not carried, and the agenda item stays in public excluded. Councillor Burt.
So that we find a halfway, I would like to pass the motion, or I'm not sure actually in terms of what I wanted to do is to Councillor Piddington's point that at some stage, once we land on the aspects of what it actually means in regard to these changes and the increased costs and what have you, that when it comes out past that, that it is very transparent as to who voted for what and why, as part of the narrative when it comes out. And I believe that is something that needs to be done from a transparency aspect. But today, obviously, we need to maintain the ability to have those discussions so that we can meaningfully understand and get the right decision to protect everyone's interest.
You take your point around proactive release, and comfortable for that to be decided now and or within the paper itself. I don't see a need either way. Look, I think we'll all agree that it's in the public's best interest. Ultimately, they're the ones that are paying for this project through ratepayer funding. So, and it, it's going to be a legacy project one way or another, whatever it ends up being. So, yeah, it's important that we, they can, we're accountable to them. I think that's the key element. So comfortable that we don't have to deal with that now. I think in our best interest, we proactively release information anyway. I would like to move into the agenda at some point, but Councillor Booth.
Is it possible to have something given to the public prior to the 16th this month?
The 16th being, just please note, just be really careful that we are in a very privileged position, that we are elected, and understanding that we're in an election cycle. And when I say we're in a privileged position, there's others that are running for election that aren't in this room and don't have the opportunity that we do. And I just really note the point of caution around associating something with an election or not. I just would just be very wary if that's the direction that you're moving toward. Yeah, we're not in the position to electioneer at all in this chamber, so we just have to be really mindful of the very privileged position we are in.